It is me, Tumi Chumi, your resident Afternoon Express chef. And yes, you guessed it, we have a second edition of our Thursday cook-along. And today, we're out in Paarl getting our brides ready for a smoky feast. So, come along. Today, I'll be cooking with Martelize Brink, who, as many of you may know, wears a couple of different hats, from radio producer and presenter, motivational speaker, and MC. But did you know that one of her other talents includes cooking up a storm in the kitchen? Hi, Martelize.
Hello, Tumi.
How
Welcome.
are you?
Very well. We're going to cook and eat. What more do you want?
I'm so excited for this, actually. I want to know what's on the menu, but I also want to know what the inspiration is behind all these dishes.
Wood, fire, that's the inspiration. So my big love is cooking over the coals, over the fire. I think all South Africans can relate. We are braaiing today, we're making pots, and I'm just having fun with creating new dishes over the braai, whether it's a broccoli, simple broccoli that's being smoked, to eggplant, but we're gonna play today. I like playing.
I actually can't wait. So what is on the menu for us today?
So we're gonna start with the mealie bread, the cornbread, jalapeno cornbread,
okay,
with some cheese if you wanna make it less, fattening. You can leave that out if you want. We are barbecuing picanha. It's a type of steak. We are serving that with a roasted red pepper sauce / pesto. You can decide also for something healthier than cream sauce you usually use for steak. And then we are making a pulled pork pot. The pork has been brining for 2 days just for you guys. And we're serving that on freshly baked pot bread. And we're making some chicken pot, like a spicy chicken pot, very simple, and tomato sauce. Nobody's allowed to judge or laugh at us. A tomato sauce base. It's one of my father's recipes. And then lastly, just for the fun, we're making those lekker hot cross bun s'mores.
Wow.
So yeah, we're braaiing them like braaibroodjies.
So everything we're making today is going to be on the fire?
Yes, everything is on the fire.
That's perfect. And South Africa, if you want to get the recipe details, do make sure to go to afternoonexpress.co.za. So let's get started. I've got some ingredients in front of me over here, right?
Yes, that's all the cornbread ingredients.
Okay.
I think we all love maize. It's a staple throughout Africa. And if you go to Italy, you call it polenta. It's just a different name for it. But we're starting with our dry ingredients.
Perfect.
So the base is corn, but you do still use regular flour.
Okay.
So we start with a cup of coarse cornmeal. So that's also healthier. But you can use the fine one if you want.
We call it braaipap.
Precies, braaipap, and that's normal flour.
Flour.
You can add that, so the dry ingredients.
Okay.
Then we add a bit of salt.
Salt.
Right?
Okay, just a nice
A little bit
sprinkling.
more, that's say,
Okay.
yeah, that's a hundreds.
Perfect.
Then we might use a little bit more flour. That's the one thing about baking. You bake differently with altitude. So in Gauteng, something doesn't rise, and in the Western Cape, it does. So you've got to feel your way through baking with bread. Then we need some baking soda and baking powder. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I put in a teaspoon of baking soda as well to help it rise, because it's a very wet dough.
Okay.
So it doesn't rise as easily. You can mix that a little bit for us. Tumi is working very hard today, but that's perfect. I say. So we're going to be brave, and somehow break the eggs directly into that.
Okay, perfect.
Are you welcome doing all of that? You can go ahead.
I love it. I love the rustic cooking.
Ja, nee wat. And if someone gets a piece of egg in their bread, then they're just going to have to tell no one and suck it up. Yeah. Okay, so we add that, and we add the buttermilk.
Sure. So some people would actually want to do it separately, where they do the wet ingredients.
You can do that, whichever way, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
True.
But yeah, the less we have to clean, the happier it makes me. Then next, oil. About 40 to 60 milliliters of oil. You can use any oil. I've got some olive oil there. It won't affect the taste. Sometimes olive oil can be overwhelming.
Yes.
And then we add a blikkie sweet corn.
A can
of sweet corn. That's the real taste right there. And that's also why you don't really need to add sugar or anything like that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Mix that together. A little bit of elbow grease. At least you don't have to knead bread today. At least you don't have to do that.
But I think it's coming together quite nicely, because you did mention how sometimes it doesn't cook through because you might have a little bit too much flour.
If it's too wet, So the bread will still cook, but sometimes it is a problem getting it out of the pot.
Yeah.
But as I said, the one thing about cooking over coals is just take a deep breath, experiment, and again, if something burns on the one side, you've got the rest of it to eat. Sometimes a bit, it's the perfect equalizer, by the way, cooking over coals.
I fully agree.
So yeah, exactly. So how's that looking?
It's looking great, and I see the baking soda has already started working
Wonderful.
in there, and then obviously the baking powder will just carry it through as it continues to cook.
So now you can put in your flavorants to me.
Okay.
You can use chili, you can use cayenne pepper. I'm using jalapenos because I like the sweetness of it. It's not actually even that hot, which is nice, but there's lovely chili you can put in, and cheese. I love putting in cheese. Who doesn't like putting in cheese?
I mean, you can never have too much cheese. And I think the one thing we know about cornbread is that it literally is the one bread that has the cheese incorporated in it, and you can never go wrong with that.
Lovely. So that's what I love about the bread, and that's what I love about bread in general. You can do so much with it. You can literally add any kind of flavoring. For example, the normal white pot bread I made for you guys earlier, you can fry some onions, for example, nice and sweet, slow, and add that after you've cooled it down to the dough and cook it with onions. There's so many ideas.
I'm just going to decant this into our...
So the pot, I love that pot. Don't you think it's the cutest thing? My boyfriend bought it for me as a gift last week. Love him. He knows me very well. But yeah, so you use any kind of pot you can put on the fire, obviously.
Yeah.
A normal potjie is a great idea, normal black pot, but I just think that's so cute. You find really nice stuff these days in the shops. Very, very important to make sure that it has enough butter in every little crevice around every corner. And always, if you're making a pot bread, you grease the roof or the roof where it might rise and touch.
Yes.
That one, I don't think that one will do that, but yeah, horrible when you've made it like a pot bread and you try and lift and the whole top comes off because you didn't put butter on the lid. So that's very important. So we're taking that. The fire's been going for an hour or so we've got coals and you pack the coals on top, but we'll show you the technique in a while.
Perfect. Well, South Africa, that's the first bit of our cook-along. We've got our cornbread ready. We're going to put it on the fire. But coming up, what are we going to be making?
Pork. We're working with pork. And as I said, the pork has been brining for 2 days, and another ingredient and another recipe that you can use whatever you feel like. So nothing is strict about this recipe except for the salt content. So we'll talk about that a bit later.
Well then, South Africa, stay tuned.